That's how I got 20 extra euros in Amsterdam by showing that stranger just how far behind my head I could put my ankle.
I would have done the same.
I
I,
wouldn't have, but I wouldn't have the euros either. So
I'd have hurt myself, but I would have done the same.
Yeah. Oh no, it hurt. It hurt.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting, taint-filled episode of the Black Tower Podcast. We're here tonight to discuss topics from the book series The Wheel of Time, written by Robert Jordan. For those of you who may not be familiar, The Wheel of Time is a book series written by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, spanning the length of 14 books and thousands upon thousands of pages. I don't know how many million words there are, but there are many. That's a good
You
intro,
remind
right?
me of who's the oh god, I can't remember his name. He plays in The Mask. He's like the therapist dude that writes the book
Ben
about the
Stein?
mask we wear. Yeah.
I love that that's where you know him from. Okay, look, like there's a generational thing, right?
I noticed that because he also did the Clear Eyes commercials too for a while, didn't he? Clear eyes, they make your eyes clear.
So, fun story: Gen X and older millennials know him from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and they'll Bueller. Anybody? Like that's what they know.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what they know him
yeah.
from, right? And I love that when you get into like the Zennials and the Gen Z, like they're like, "That's the Mask dude." I don't know. It's just funny. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched The Mask far more times than I watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Also, did you know that dude is like insanely smart?
yeah,
Like
wasn't
he was
there
an
a
economics
show called,
advisor
I
to
thought
a
there was a show
president.
called like Stump Him or something. Wasn't there?
Win Ben Stein's money.
Oh yeah, that I remember that.
Mm.
Win Ben Stein's money. That's it.
There's a much cheaper way to stump somebody, though it's frowned upon, very illegal, heavily practiced in a certain area of the world.
Okay,
It depends on what era you're living in.
Renaissance.
I mean, that area of the world is not really illegal, depending on who's doing the stumping.
Let's just do it like this, okay? Here's his intro. We could all hope to have an intro half as Benjamin Jerry Stein is an American writer, lawyer, actor, comedian, and commentator on political and economic issues. He began his career as a speechwriter for U.S. Presidents Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, before entering the entertainment field as an actor, comedian, and game show host. Okay, what?
I mean,
motherfucker's got like the Infinity Stones of careers. Like,
whoa! That title belongs to Johnny Sins. All right, respect the name. But also, writing speeches for presidents is cool. It is heavily diminished by the fact that those presidents were Nixon and Ford.
I kind of want to hear the speeches now because I feel like somebody was off. Like, who wrote this? I need to meet this person.
I am not a crook.
No, but seriously, welcome out to the Black Tower Podcast. It is, in fact, a Wheel of Time podcast. I was not kidding about that. We do, in fact, hyper-focus on different aspects of the Wheel of Time and discuss them on a weekly basis. For those of you who do not know, my name is Josh. I'm the Sauravan Mihail, which is the Mihail of the Sauravans, if you didn't.
Glad you quit.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I can't keep up the same energy level. But I'm Reese, your 8th on Mihail. That's your love up Mihail.
I like to imagine there's just like discarded gloves all around Reese's like
everywhere,
like desk.
It's just a whole pile of them.
By the end of a year being on Black Tower Podcast, your just entire floor is just covered. Your wheels are clogged up with gloves. Like
I've started using them for chores.
Like
nice.
Those hoarder house pictures of like computers where they've got like cans and food wrappers like piled up. It's like this little den where the computer's in. That'll be Reese only with
Jesus. What a stretch.
Uh-huh.
I'm Andrew, your Bajan Mihail, and I'm happy to see that Reese's leaf curtains are growing back.
I had to trim them.
Yeah, I mean, as you do.
Yeah.
They're coming in nicely though.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well manicured is how I like to keep my
well
leaf
manicured
curtains.
foliage. That's
well manicured, spaced well, tastefully outlines the folds of the curtain.
This one's just just teasing right here.
Yeah. That's just the tip vine.
Just the tip. Yeah. Hey, you guys, I actually have more than 3 folds here.
You guys ain't nothing special.
Welcome to Florida. We're in the 6-fold land.
3 folds ain't shit to talk about. Look how many I got. I got pleats on pleats on pleats on pleats.
Pleats on.
Got gator pleats down here.
Oh my god.
Oh man. Anyway, before we get into today's episode, if you want to know where you can go and see a whole bunch of cool stuff,
I'll tell you where you can go.
Make sure you open an incognito browser.
Too.
You might have to verify your age now. Head on over to blacktowerpod.com. You can find all the stuff about Black Tower Podcast. It's got all of our socials. It's got Dragon Sworn On Demand, which has got normally our 5 most recent YouTube videos and podcast episodes. It's got forums, and it's got links to our patrons where you can listen, where you can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and you can listen live as we're recording and see all the stuff that actually gets cut out now. There's stuff that actually gets cut out now. It might be mostly silences, but until the end of the episode, when the editor I use stops editing, I guess. I don't know why it does that. That's just that last chunk. That's why. Anyway.
What's it gonna be? Mean comment or long sullen silence?
You got me in a box here. Oh. Well, but before we get into actually talking about today's episode, let's give you that spoiler warning. This one's brought to you by the lovely folks from Gleeman's Apprentice. Here you go.
The Black Tower stands fully erect.
When the tower is bulging at full erectness, you must protect yourself from tainty spoilers.
Your spoiler condom must cover the immense girthiness of all 14 books of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time,
with an itty-bitty tip at the top for the prequel New Spring.
If your condom is too small, you will get tainty spoiler jizz all up in your eye.
Or ears. You have been warned.
And you guys, tainty spoiler jizz, it stings in your eyes. You do not want that in your eyes.
You can never get it out of your ears.
And it'll never go.
No matter how many Q-tips you use, even though you're not supposed to use those. You can get the fancy little camera thing with the baby food scoop on the end, and you're still not going to get it out.
Was that from Get Smart when he was like, how about I make you my pretty little bitch? You'll shower for hours, but you'll never get rid of the smell. You two look very angry.
You remember Spider-Man 3 watching the symbiote cling to the inside of the glass? That's going to be the inside of your ear canal.
But
just
without
sticking all over the place. Yeah. You won't get any of the cool things. Just, if you didn't have tinnitus before, you'll definitely have it then.
Mom,
would you like some tinnitus? Here you are.
Anyway, Josh, what are we talking about today?
Well, listen, I'm excited for tonight because we're bringing back a segment that we haven't done in a while. And this is probably one of my favorite segments of all the segments that we do. All of them, we do. But it's another character background breakdown. And tonight we're breaking down the background of a truly legendary figure, and a figure who's too good to be true, too much to believe. Okay, because no, literally, they don't actually believe that she exists, and they're like, "Yeah, you're lying." And she's like, "Bitch, test me." We're talking about the indomitable, the amazing Reanne Corly. And she is one of the senior members of the kin in Ibudar.
and maybe
More commonly known as the Knitting Circle. But she is, she's awesome. We love her. She's a no-nonsense kind of lady. She knows what to do. she's a bad mamma jamma.
She's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So to briefly, I guess, give a little bit of background into like the world she's currently living in. Reese, what do you remember in very broad strokes about the kin?
So the kin are this group of kind of outcast channelers who have found kinship in, is it Ebudar? Is that where that
Yes.
kin is? Yes. So, and they, have different backgrounds. Some have escaped, some were put out of the tower, and they have created kind of their own, almost like mini tower of outcast channelers where they have their own rule and kind of hierarchy of power where they kind of keep everyone in some semblance of order and kind of protect each other as well, because it's not always easy being a lone channeler out there.
It's not. Can confirm.
Yeah. So that's the world that Reanne has been living in for the past multitude of decades. So Reanne herself has had a motherly appearance with gray hair, blue eyes, and wrinkle lines from smiles. She had a high soprano voice and appears to be in her mid-40s and does not appear old, but like someone who has not led an easy life, which may explain her graying relatively early for a channeler of her strength. She sometimes felt fear in her belly, like the panic that sent her running and screaming at her accepted test. She always gripped this firmly, unaware that fear of actually giving way had long since conquered the possibility that she might give way. It's really weird wording for me, or at least I just read it weird. The fear of giving way long outweighed her fear of giving... What?
I think it's that the fear that she would give way was greater than the actual possibility she would. Like, there was a very little chance, but she thought there was.
The fear of failing basically conquered her, like, her fear of failing. Like, it basically erased, like she's really methodical or whatever. She's pretty steadfast and doesn't give up, kind of.
But she has that, like, flight sense. You know, that, built-in fight or flight. She's not a fight.
Yeah.
She's
just triggered my fight or flight response, and
I
am a fightless bird.
So pretty tenacious. Here's where Renee's story, especially from the eyes of our characters that we're following, because she first gets mentioned in A Crown of Swords, chapter 22, and we first see her in 23 when Elaine and Nynaeve, I believe, go are kind of escorted and meet her or come across her. Something of that semblance. The story, we're not talking about them. We're talking about Reanne. She's got the story. At this time, we really haven't even seen her talk too much about Cadsuane. We know that she's like the oldest living Aes Sedai, and she's outlived the Aes Sedai by metrics that are impressive, but not completely out of the realm of possibility. But coming across an Aes Sedai that's 200-300 years old, or 250, 275, not incredibly crazy, but also like not exactly the norm. Over 100 is pretty common. When you start hitting like 200 plus, you start getting into the realm of be wary of an old man and a young man's game kind of territory. Like, they're old because they fucking know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two kind of territory. Keep in mind, when we start reading the books start in what year, Josh?
You would ask me.
Subtract 2 from the even 1,000.
998? Is it 998 NE?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay, edit that part out. Let's go back. So the books start at 998 NE. I knew that off the top of my head. That's how well versed I am in this topic.
Reanne was born in 588 NE, making her
young
by this point in the books. So, because I believe by A Crown of Swords, we're pretty much into the year 1000 NE.
Yeah.
If not, we're at 999. Yeah. So I might be off by a year. That makes this lady, this madam, 412 fucking years old.
Okay, for context, Cadsuane Melydra is known as the oldest living Aes Sedai, right? And widely accepted to be the oldest living person on Earth, because obviously if it can be done, Aes Sedai can do it better than anybody else.
Okay.
Cadsuane Sedai was born in 705. Like, so Rihanna is like 100 years older, 120 years older than Cadsuane.
Yeah. There's a quote, kind of, well, not really a quote, but there's a statement later on, in kind of like a section of this. If we want to call it prep work, I'll call it prep work. It wasn't a lot of prep by me, but somebody did it.
You got to prep.
Yeah.
You can't just jump in.
My assistant
Your administrator
made the comment that, well, basically at the point when Nynaeve and Elaine walk in and are basically trying to do their whole, like, we're Aes Sedai, you should listen to us. Reanne immediately, like, one, she's naturally distrustful. She calls their bullshit, and then they're like, what? And then Reanne is essentially, and this is the quote from the research, the quote is, "Sweetie, I was channeling before your grandmothers were born." Which I know is not a quote, but it should have been, because that's a hard-ass fucking line. Just fucking drop that line and just be like, bitch, I was channeling before your grandmothers were born. There is no retort for that.
It's a Lenny quote right there.
That is.
Yes, my favorite Lenny saying, bitch, I was channeling before your grandmothers were born.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's old, and I think, is she the one that, whenever she finally reveals that, like, oh, this summer I celebrated my 410th birthday,
Yeah.
and Elaine is like, I'm about to fucking pass out.
Yeah.
Like, this should not be possible. And this is the thing, it's not really referenced in any of the stuff, because she didn't directly do this, but this whole meeting with the kin, especially Elaine and Nynaeve meeting Reanne, leads them to start questioning, how does this person that went to be Chower trained, how are they living to be so much older than fully trained Aes Sedai?
Yeah, she's what kind of started their, like, probe into the different channelers and their ages and what might be causing those discrepancies.
And ultimately, it leads to the discovery that the Aes Sedai today, or in the Third Age, are using what was a Second Age punishment device as if it's a badge of honor in the Third Age, because they're fucking barbaric. And many of them didn't know. Most of them didn't know. I think there was evidence of it in the 13th Depository, but like most information in the 13th Depository, you don't tell anybody about it. You shove it up your ass and pretend you never knew it.
That's right.
That's right.
Stick that knowledge where the sun don't shine.
Yeah. So we don't know where Rihanna was born, but that she is not from Altara. We know that much.
That narrows it down.
Yeah. One less place to figure it out. I think we can safely say she's not from Sara. She's not from the Isle of Madmen. She's not from Tremoking. And she's not from Seanchan. And she's not from the Blight. Probably not from the Borderland.
Think about this. Okay.
Ah, yes, I once saw Arthur Hawkwing. Right past.
She's 400 years old, right? Yeah. Let's put that into context in our own time. 400 years ago, the United States of America didn't exist. Wasn't even a country. Mm-hmm. It was a series of settlements, like little settlements. The whole of the United States as we know it today was just wild land. Nothing existed. No infrastructure. Nothing.
There were no golf courses.
There were no golf courses. Not a single golf course. Everything, just about everything we know, understand, and experience on a daily basis simply did not exist back. I think that's insane. I think that's crazy to think about one person living that long.
I'm trying to find, someone did a whole timeline of the known events of the Wheel of Time.
Sounds like something like Wadapedia would have done.
And I wish I could find it.
So one of the things that I think is interesting about Reanne, going into her history a little more, is when we learn more about her backstory, we learn that she actually went to the White Tower. She was a novice.
She did, and she was.
And I think it's it's interesting to learn that backstory because, when they meet her, there are lots of questions. She's very strong. She's been around for a long time. How do people not know about her? And hey, if you've outlived everybody, they're not going to know you're still there.
Don't they have to go through the novice book and find her name to verify how old she is?
Oh gosh.
Or did they just say that they would do that?
That sounds that sounds right. I'd believe it. You can tell me that.
I do like though that she's the one that points them out to the Terangrial cache.
Mm-hmm.
So she's the one that, helps them find the Bowl of the Winds and all of the other level up that comes from that cache, which is awesome. She also helps lead the kin out of Ibudar when the Shan-Chan invade. That's super cool. Because she's the one she's the oldest at the time, right? So she's got she's got everything set up, running like a freaking clock, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we get there, I think it is worth noting, because we made the comment earlier about her getting, about her getting burned by tower politics.
Mm-hmm.
As I think it's important for those that we know to talk about why the members of the kin that become so pivotal later on are not with the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And Reanne isn't somebody that the tower kicked out. I mean, they ultimately yes, but not because maybe she couldn't attain it, so she panicked during her accepted test and ran away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
she's
because
one
of that,
of the stronger channelers.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and because of that, the tower required that she be cast out.
Mm-hmm.
So purely by a traditional rule, they discarded a very powerful channeler.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she became a novice in 603 NE.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, there was probably a fair larger number of channelers coming in and out. But you see the consequences of it, but also the benefits of it. We probably would not have a Reanne Corly if it was Reanne Sedai walking amongst us right now. Because Cad Swain, at late 200, early 300, is an anomaly, a legend. Even most Aes Sedai don't believe she's actually real anymore. They think it's just a story until she shows up.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of an interesting role that she plays as almost she's almost an artifact where it's oh, this is what we used to do. And look at her on her own without the tower interference.
Yeah.
She's doing great. And I think it brings up so many questions. It brings up their age. It brings up the oaths. It brings up putting people out and broken off from the tower. I feel like she's kind of pivotal in bringing so many people back in that had been kind of cast out, where it's maybe our tests aren't quite all for the same thing. Not everybody has to be, a heart surgeon, but we're all giving the heart surgeon test, So I think that's kind of a cool thing that she kind of sticks around long enough to be able to not only see that change, but help make it.
Well, and Reanne, along that vein, Reanne Corly poses. It's an unexpected blessing, right? That she is leading the kin. We've talked in the past about how the Dark Friends and the Forsaken over the centuries have eroded the White Tower, right? They've made channelers fewer. They've made channelers weaker. They have created all kinds of strictures in place to make it more and more exclusive, to erode the quantity and quality of the Aes Sedai that are being produced. And at first glance, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, they're a fraction of the power that they once were. It really sucks. But also there's this kind of sense that, hey, the pattern knows. The pattern knows. And when Reanne Corly left the tower, was put out of the tower, she joined the kin almost immediately, went straight to them, and spent the next 400 years, or the next 200 years, 300 years, being a kin, being in the sewing circle, and helping, as you were saying, Reese, countless women who had left the tower for whatever reason find a place, find meaning, and find, the ability to live a normal life.
Well, it's
Because
interesting.
isn't part of the rule when you're put out of the tower that you're not supposed to channel? Isn't that
And you're not
part?
supposed to congregate with other channelers.
And it's like it's one of those things where it's like a self-induced stilling, and it's like you want me to have access to the one
Yeah.
power and not touch it? Like
Mhm.
what?
I've taken on a vow of stillacy.
Yeah. Let me just put this glove on here. It doesn't count, right?
So it's interesting that you bring up a concept of maybe like themes or symbolism behind Reanne and the Ken.
The Ken.
I actually have some ideas for that, and I have a different one for each of us that I think would be fun to let each of us talk about and explore. And why not go with Reese first?
Oh.
Yeah.
In your concept revolving around Reanne specifically, but also the Ken, here's your prompt. There's also the idea of found family. Reanne protects hundreds of women who feel like failures. She builds her own tower just without the oaths and other trapping.
Yes. Okay. So yes, I think.
What are your thoughts?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, she
I
did do that.
agree with this prompt.
Yes, she did do that. Good job,
In
prompt.
3 to 5 average paragraphs, please tell us what you think about this prompt. You have 5 minutes in your test remaining.
Is very focused on found family and created her own tower in order to help hundreds of women. In this essay, I will
In this essay, I will demonstrate
Oh shit! Oh,
how the family you have is not always better than the family you find.
you just gave me flashbacks to college. You
Bruh.
have toe.
Did you have to write your essays in the blue books? Oh God. So for mine, for every test that had essays, we had to go and buy a blue book from the university shop. And it was a blue piece of paper around just regular lined paper.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I had like kind of just learned about like Washington and that French admiral or general and the like Army's blue book for drill and ceremonies. So when they were like, you got to go buy a blue book, and I'm like, this isn't fucking West Point. What the fuck are you talking about? Drill and ceremonies, and then I went into the university store, and I was like, this is bullshit. Why can't I just bring paper? I already paid my tuition. Fuck your stop.
The school has to make money, right?
So we're gonna staple together some loose leaf and charge
We've
you
stapled
for
it
it.
together for you.
Okay, so my opening paragraph is let's see.
Yeah,
So yeah,
miscellaneous fuckwits.
I think that's a really important thing to all of the women of the kin if they were put out of the tower. I think there's everybody, if they went to the tower, chances are they wanted to be a part of it. I can't imagine you would go willingly if you didn't want to. So I mean, I'm sure there are those people as well. But I think for the most part, they wanted to help. They wanted to join that sisterhood. They felt they had the power. They wanted to be a part of it. And to be cast out for whatever reason is hard. When you thought that you were going to be a part of something, you were going to make a difference, you were going to, help. And then to just be turned away, maybe you don't have enough power, or you couldn't get through the tests, or whatever reason. I think that's tough on anyone. And to be able to find like a group of, of misfits, find your aisle of misfit toys and you can fit in. And I think that's what she was able to do, and join and kind of create that safe haven and give people what they might have missed out on otherwise, but with not quite as much structure, because why? That's unnecessary. So there.
I like it.
My references are, let's see, The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan.
Oof. I'm going to have to deduct a whole letter grade for not using MLA formats.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, this was submitted.
It was in the syllabus, section 37, subset A14.
We wanted the MLA 2.3 format, and you did formats.
We wanted MLA Oxford style in Portuguese only.
All right, my sources were Wikipedia.
Oh, how dare you!
The source for my sources was Wikipedia.
You have soiled this fine institution.
Oh man! All right, Josh, do you want next, or do you want me to go next?
You go next.
All right. I'm not gonna do the first part of mine because we haven't talked about that part yet.
Wolf brother in the chat. Real quick.
So mine.
He's saying that thank you for the taint, and it's because I mailed some bottles of this year's taint to Wolf Brother for WattCon. So if you're gonna be at WattCon, make sure you track him down and try some of the taint.
Myself and the poison checker will be there. I know I'll try it.
Hell yeah.
So I feel like this is a setup, and like Josh is conveniently not going to be there for a reason. I mean, obviously there's a reason, but I don't know. I think it's about time to like blend up mine because when I took a sniff today, it's finally starting to have that bit of a sourish little tinge to it.
Blend it up, add a little bit of garlic oil and a little bit of vinegar.
I think this one's supposed to be like a jalapeno honey one. So
that'd be good. A
little bit of honey. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm adding habaneros to it. That's not normally supposed to be part of it either. So we'll see. Anyway, my prompt that for me. The kin symbolize latent potential society discards. Reanne's arc says, what you cast aside may come back stronger.
To bite you.
There's another part to the prompt, but we haven't talked about that part of the story. So, how many times do we hear stories about incredible figures who society was ready to block from going on to do what made them famous, or just discard them and not let them join? Like, how many World War II legendary military heroes had to cheat and lie their way past a vision test to get into the military, and they became some of the most prolific leaders and war heroes ever. I know there was one. He was a fucking in the Navy, one of the ship captains, or he wound up becoming a ship captain. It, like, revolutionized, or maybe he was a submarine commander. But basically, like, he revolutionized the concepts behind U.S. submarine warfare, and he had to lie and cheat on his vision exam to get into the military. There was an ace, if not a multiple ace from World War II, that had to lie on his vision, had to cheat his vision exam to get in, and he became an ace, which means he shot down 5 enemy aircraft, like confirmed downed enemy aircraft in air-to-air combat. You gotta have decent eyesight to do that. Like, it's shit like that. So, especially in the example of Reanne, this is somebody who didn't make it, not because she wasn't strong enough to potentially in the power to make it to the Shaw, but she had a moment of panic in an incredibly difficult task. In training, this is where we would say, like, this is where we want you to have that moment in training so that we can address it, deal with it, so that whenever actual situations come around that are real and are going to stick with you, more so real than the Terran Graal, and we can debate that a different time, how real these things were or weren't. So that this doesn't happen whenever you're in, like, active service. It would be the same thing, like, which is the whole concept that they throw behind why they discard perspective accepted and perspective Aes Sedai that fail the test for accepted in the test for the Shaw. Like, oh, you didn't have the gumption to do this, get out of here. Where instead, you could retain the strength and help try to, fortify and build up somebody instead of casting them aside. But it's so easy to do. It's the easy way out. And companies do this all the time as well. Like, hey, we could just train somebody else to do this. We're not gonna train you to do this on top of your current workload. We'll just hire somebody that already knows it to come in. And then you wind up leaving, and it leaves a massive hole in the company now. There's plenty of stories about, like, dudes that made coding for their company on their private time. The company never officially acquired the rights to that coding. So whenever they leave the company, they take the code with them. The code breaks, and nobody can fix it because nobody knew how to work it. The same thing. And she gets this redemption story of coming back, and not only is she an incredibly strong channeler, but she is the eldest. She is in charge of the rest of the kin. And long outlived every shawl holder that told her, no, you must leave, you are not worthy. So who won in the end, asshole?
Yeah.
That's right.
You're worm food, and I'm walking around.
Talk about sticking it to your haters, yeah.
Ayo.
All right, Josh, here's yours.
Here's my prompt. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Humility. Something you could learn. Reanne never flexes power for ego. Everything she does is service-oriented. You could, even if you really wanted to, contrast it with a stark opposite example, like Elida.
Okay, here's the thing. Reanne Corly has humility, right? She has humility in spades. She is, and I think that's part of the reason why she's gained and earned the respect of the kin, and that's why she's gained the station that she's gained, is because she knows the weight and reality of their situation. And
yes, the oat rod. Don't eat your oats.
It's gluten free.
What takes away half your life? Not eating gluten.
and it's real easy to say.
Amish have been eating it for decades.
It's real easy to give it a surface look and say, hey, she rose to power, and so she's still. But remember, when Elaine makes the announcement that all women who can channel are to be attached to the tower, and most women will be given a second chance to become Aes Sedai, Reanne Corly has this very emotional moment and says under her breath, I can finally be green, because she wanted to join the Green Aja. And of course Elaine has her little bonding moment with her and is like, hell yay. But she was, not only was she herself a humble person and wanted to serve and help others, she also knew how to instill humility into others, to give them a full weight and measure of the reality of their situation. And the reality of their situation is, I mean, at this point in time during the story, the kin outnumber the White Tower. There are more channelers living in the kin than there are in the White Tower. Like, think about that for a second. And she's in charge. She is effectively the Amerlin seat of the kin. And you don't get that way and successfully run the kin for, I don't know, 100, 200 years whenever she became the head of the kin. You don't do that if you don't understand how to keep a low profile. You don't do that if you're power hungry. You don't do that if you want power, control, and influence. I mean, she's the one who's setting rules that they can't stay in the city for too long without, gaining suspicion. Like, right? Like, oh, you can have a career for about 10, 15, 20 years maybe, and then you need to go back out to the farm where nobody can see you.
She's Steris.
Yeah.
She
really was. For those of you who don't know, Steris is a character in the Era 2 Mistborn series. Brandon Sanderson actually described her as being on the spectrum, like having a touch of autism. But she's very, very good at planning things out, and making sure things function well and run proper. And
for every possible outcome.
For every possible scenario. But Reanne Corly is also like this, right? She keeps a very active finger on the pulse, making sure that, and anybody can again look at it from the outside and be like, wow, she's really strict. She must really love that power. No, she's really strict because she wants to keep these women safe and out of harm's way, out of punishment's way. Because you got to remember too, it's not just the White Tower that's going to be harsh with most of these women. There's going to be a lot of people who don't like Aes Sedai, who can't tell the difference between an Aes Sedai and a regular channeler, that are going to have problems. And if you, a channeler in the kin, start channeling in the city where people notice, like, that's going to draw attention. And she has strict guidelines and rules specifically to avoid attention. And I think that's kind of cool. I really do. I think that's an interesting thing, that she understands the need to be strict, the need to have very stringent rules in place.
I mean, talking about power, like on the strength scale, Reanne is on the same level in terms of the 1 power strength scaling that we get, the 14 and 2 or whatever. The 14 plus 1 whatever ultra instinct mega overload scale that we get. She is on the same level of channeling strength as Shiriam, Yukiri, Pavara, and Seiren Sedai, and is strong enough to weave a gateway unaided. She would have not just been an Aes Sedai, she would have been a high level Aes Sedai had she been able to pass her. That is the scoped level of strength that they missed out on. It would have been like the US looking at Browning, seeing the 50 cal Browning automatic heavy machine gun, and been like, we don't really need it. And then we would have had no Modus, no 50. For those of you that maybe aren't super into like World War II history and that kind of stuff, the 50 cal, incredibly effective, still used to this day, still incredibly effective. Fucking nutty platform, and I love it. But some other stuff that she's done. So there comes a point, obviously, the Shan-Chan move into Abu Dar. Abu Dar is now under Shan-Chan control. That's, not a great situation for people that can use magic. So the Kin kind of get the fuck out of there, along with as many Angreal as they can carry.
They skedaddle.
Skedaddle, skedoodle. Your Shan-Chan's now a noodle.
Heyo!
So they're piecing out going to Andor. But when they get out of Abu Dar, there's a sense that some of their hierarchy kind of breaks down. And some of the Kin start questioning and kind of resisting the Aes Sedai. And Reanne is very quick to come in and remind them of the rules that she and all of them agreed to. And they get switched as punishment. But in showing her humility and also her, rules are rules, Reanne herself gets reprimanded by Elise for bringing Aes Sedai to the farm, which was a massive violation of the rules of the Kin. So she winds up, even though she's the eldest, she's in charge, she's doing penance by doing chores.
Yes.
While still trying to keep the Kin together and working with Elaine and Nynaeve to move the Kin to safety and move them into Andor. Because Elaine is smart, at least in a political sense. If nothing else, at least in a political sense. She knows she can't just show up to the White Tower, fractured or not, White Tower or Saladar, with the Kin. Like, the collective Aes Sedaihood would shit a fucking brick of concentrated Sidar. Just think. You thought Quindiar was hard. Wait till you see the Amerlin shit a brick of concentrated Sidar. So yeah, but moving on, eventually they get to Camelin, and that's where Rand has Soldam and Damane that he's captured, and they wind up getting placed in Rianne's care. This is a massive, in addition to this being a massive responsibility, this might be the first and maybe only instance of us seeing any kind of mental and aftercare for anybody in the entire Wheel of Time. And it's done chiefly by Reanne to try to help rehabilitate Damane and Soldam.
Oh, damn.
Because Elaine waits for Reanne to tell her if any of the Damane are ready to return to regular society from their captivity. And if Reanne doesn't sign off on it, it doesn't happen. Yeah. Because they've had it before where Damane would say, no, I never want to serve the Shan-Chan again. They get set free and they run to the Shan-Chan.
Yeah.
She also sends a group of kinswomen to Abu Dar to try to get more of the Soldam and Damane that were, Martha Damane, the captured by the Shan-Chan, freed and brought out. So that maybe they can be rehabilitated as well. She's also there in Camelin through the entire Ascension arc with Elaine. She took Cara Dufresne and Jilari for supervised walks to introduce them to the free world, and was helping Jilari choose a last name. And it was on one of those walks where she ran into Elaine and tells her that she discovered that one of the former Soldam, Marley Neutchen, admitted to her that she could actually see weaves of Saidar. And then, of course, Elaine shocked everybody by being like, oh, you should send her back to Shanchan. And unfortunately, that's kind of where the positive parts of Rianne's story ends. Because the next part of her story is her being found dead, smothered with the one power. We find out later on that Karine Franci was identified as Rianne's murderer. Karine Franci Sadai, who was also this is like one of those sad kind of ironies, because obviously Karine was a Black Aja, but she was a member of the Green Aja, which is sad, extra sad, because that is the Aja that Rianne wanted to join. So in the end, her coming back to the Aes Sedai stabbed her in the back again.
Round and round we go.
Like a wheel.
Like a wheel.
Does it mean it's gonna happen again?
It's all gonna happen again.
But no, she's an incredible character, because it's her ability to hold on and kind of keep a hold of the kin and keep them in line that kind of allows Elaine and Egwene to start and have the dialogue even of bringing the kin back into the fold with the White Tower in any capacity. And then, of course, ultimately, Egwene is like, anybody that wants to test can test. Anybody previously, shunned or kicked out, you can retest. And even if you can't make accepted, we're not going to kick you out and banish you from the tower just because you can't advance in rank. You can still serve the tower.
Right.
Telling everybody that wants to have a home, you can have a home. And for the, and I believe for those that the Aes Sedai that want to maybe kind of retire, or those that maybe don't want to stay with the tower but can't advance, you're going to get that 401k option of going to the kin,
Which I think is a really bad retirement.
I mean, it could be worse. I get it. It's Egwene's desire to tie every female that can channel to the tower, because she's seen how weak the tower is by being so elitist.
Sure.
But also, like, I do agree. I think Egwene goes into an absolutely massive over course correction.
Well, it's just like, okay, I'm a boxer, right? And I have a really great career, and I decide, I've had 20 fights. I got the heavyweight championship. I'm good. I've kind of done everything I can do. I want to retire. And they go, okay, well, we've got this colony of other boxers who have retired. You just have to, permanently tie your hands behind your back. Like, if you're a channeler, channeling is a part of you. It's a piece of who you are. And for the retirement plan to be choose to not be who you are, I don't know. It just feels very short-sighted.
But isn't it? You take the oaths. Wasn't the plan they remove the oaths, and then they go to the kin? And I mean, I kind of assumed that they would kind of leave it like as is, not as people had believed it was, but as it actually was, where they're like reasonably channeling and not going overboard and keeping a low profile.
Yeah. But I mean, that's still right. Like, that means you've got to hide a piece of yourself in public for the rest of your life. And I don't know. I think that's a really bad retirement plan.
No, the kin, I would imagine, well, we don't know for sure, but I would imagine that the kin moving forward, like, because the only reason they ever had to hide was because they were under the impression that the Aes Sedai did not know they existed and did not want to be found by the Aes Sedai.
Right.
That one, we find out that wasn't, well, only high level, like sitters and above, knew that they existed. And maybe a couple other very high level Aes Sedai, because, again, another 13th suppository fucking secret. Some other shit to pull out of an Aes Sedai ass.
There you go.
But that now that, like, they were very much out in front, because they were helping Aes Sedai do all kinds of shit. Like, yeah, they may not be individually strong, but you link with them, and they will exponentially increase your power as a circle. Like, fucking come on. Like, They may not be individually strong, but they're massive battery packs, like, which is a really fucked up way to look at people. But you're facing the end of times in battle. You need to bolster your strength. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying I kind of understand.
Yeah.
I think Wolf Brother might be right that they were also talking about like doing a hospital.
Yeah.
They might have been doing like an aid station or helping with the aid station for the battle, like helping heal for those that weren't going to go into the
for
links.
Carmen Gaiden, yeah.
Yeah. But now there's no longer a need to hide.
Yeah. Well, so, and maybe if that's the case, right? If that's how it is, if they say you can retire and you still have full access to the power, just, obey the rules of the kin.
Yeah.
And hopefully the kin go, well, we don't really need to keep a low profile anymore. So, fucking
well, and what's kind of interesting too, what you're saying about Egwene kind of like over course correcting with, we don't end up with Egwene in power. And I think it's kind of funny we end with someone who's just like overly like stern and logical, that Egwene like cast a lot of nets, to use a fish, analogy. There.
I don't understand fish metaphors, Dad.
Fucking Suan over here.
So she like she found a lot of leads that I feel like some might be useful, some were kind of like, oh well, maybe not so much. But I feel like Cadswan's actually kind of a good person to go through and kind of be like, no. That's a great idea,
Josh.
But no.
That's it right there.
Yeah. I like this line prepped by my preppy assistant. Reanne versus Catswain. Both older than dirt, but Catswain is steel, Reanne is silk that can still cut.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay. All right.
I can see that.
Catswain's I got some final. Well, if we're ready for final thoughts, I got some.
Yeah, we can do that.
Which is funny because the prep had Josh giving this prompt, but Josh can't read this, so I'm giving it. Final lightning round. Why does Reanne's story matter in one sentence? Josh, go.
Ooh, okay. Reanne's story matters because she creates the plot mechanism that allows for the cultivation of talents, the gathering of women who can channel, who will be needed for the final battle, and as someone who leads with compassion and strength and forwards the plot line by combining all of these into a single person who gives more than the average secondary character.
Very long sentence, but I think grammatically it is still one sentence.
It's a run-on.
It's a run-on sentence.
Very close. If it wasn't, it was very close to being. Reese, what you got?
Okay. I think she is a static point on the wheel that gives us a chance to view the change from one turning to the next. It gives us that like we can actually see the change happen.
Love it.
That's my short sentence.
Are you compensating for something?
Under compensating.
I can't go through doors sideways. That's the problem. I'm gonna say that she provides us with a shining example of how one mistake or failing in your life does not denote your abilities or how far you can go in something you want to do or are passionate about. And it shows very well considering how far she goes in the Wheel of Time.
Love it. Love it.
Sweet. Well, everybody that's been listening, thank you all for listening. Whether you're listening live or you're listening to after this goes public, we thank you so much for listening to this episode. Tell us what you thought or what you think about Reanne Corly
Or what you
of
thought
the
you
Kin.
think.
Yeah. And the comments or show notes down below. Smash the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. It really does help us out a ton. If you're listening to us in audio format on your favorite podcast, wherever you find podcasts, it can be Podcatcher or Apple Pod, whatever it is. If you would be so kind to leave us a rating, a review, those are awesome. We love reading them. If you hate us, leave a rating, leave a review. We love reading them still.
It's true.
Yeah, I've been your Bijan Mahale. My name's Andrew.
I've been Reese, your Athan Mahale.
And I have been Josh, your Sorvan Mahale. And we hope that as you leave here, you're just a little bit crazier than you were when you first got here. Thank you.
You know, guys, I'm pretty sure Reanne still beats Cat Swain in like knitting speed runs.
Hands down.
Hands
Now,
down.
the real thing, Reanne versus Maria Simons. Knitting.
Oh,
Maria all day.
You've been waiting for this moment, for this feeling to grow. In the shadows, always watching, always running the show. In the tower, you can bring your pain. In the tower, you can feel the strain. You've been having so much trouble